Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and welcome to a momentous occasion. It is the culmination of the winter event as the 10th medal is ready for procurement. The 10th stage of winter event to unlock for yourself if you've been grinding faithfully or paying the golden eagles, depending. The premium T30 American heavy tank, of which I've seen several copies already in matches. You're sure to see one in this match. By the way, this is the battle where we unlock the premium Fw190C. So I'm excited about that. I love the look of the 190C. I don't think it's going to be the most competitive and powerful vehicle, although it should have a place within the meta of War Thunder. But it is a neat looking supercharged beast, and it's just a perfect event vehicle in my humble opinion. Oh, there's a T30. Or is that? Yeah, I think it is. That was not the best happenstance for us, but our gunner has actually come back now. Can we get a shot into him? A nice hit taking down his gunner. That was very, very fortuitous for us as he sprays away with his 50 cal, actually dealing damage to our cannon barrel. This guy had his priorities in the right place, although, well, fortune just was not with him today. It does feel nice to take down the newest vehicle in the game, I've got to admit. So this is the battle where we unlock the Focke-Wulf. It was a lot of fun, as I've mentioned time and time again. 6-7 Germany is my favorite way to fly, and Tank RB is definitely a place that has more options for different kinds of aircraft, because people tend to play the meta really hard in Air RB, going for fighter on fighter action, and if you don't have peak performance, you're likely to become food. There are ways around that I've talked about in some of my attacker videos for the most part, as we get a nice rear shot on this, I believe that's an early Centurion, or is it the Carnarvon? I think it's the Carnarvon heavy tank. Nice shot into his turret, takes down a couple of the crew and renders him combat ineffective. I think we got the turret ring, and then this shot into the engine will immobilize him, setting a fire. One more should do the job, but let's go ahead and talk in chat a little bit since we're here reloading. And pump another one into his turret. Well, that was less effective than I hoped it would be. Should just take one more good shot. Maybe we'll put another one into the engine compartment just to get a fire. Oh. Well, you know. I gotta admit, I wasn't expecting that to happen. But that works out just as well for us because, again, our goal for this match was to get into the air. Notice how we still played aggressively and went for what we could in the RU-251. It's a very effective light tank and very capable of getting base caps, assists, and kills, so we might as well make some use of that. Now we're in the JU-288C. And in case you were wondering, yes, we are going to show you a bit of flight in the Focke-Wulf 190C. It's not going to be in combat. I'm going to fly it in an advanced test flight. But for now, it's bombing time, so we know where at least one or two tanks are. And before we can do anything, enemy airplane on our tail as we blow off a good portion of his wing. That should deal with him. One of the things I love about the JU-288C is the fact that with a 20mm in its tail, as we get the air kill, it is capable of defending itself, and that really, really counts for a lot during this event, where you can pick up an air kill every now and then, dropping a bomb on the campers on the far side of the map, taking one down. I'm sure we did crippling damage to another, as I believe we actually pick up an assist here later on. Now, as we're going back to base to repair and rearm, it's a great opportunity to reminisce on how the event has been. And when it comes to winter events, I've been around for a while, and this is by far the easiest and most enjoyable winter event that we've had, coming on the heels of the easiest and most enjoyable summer event that we've had. Looking back at things like the IS-7 event, that was a lot more of a grind, and for good reason. IS-7 really is something special, and the FJ4B with the bullpups was another. It was a lot easier grind, but definitely a grind itself, and coming on the heels of IS-7, it was a bit of a burnout. Looking back even further in the past, events like this used to require much more difficult to obtain objectives, to the point where it was easier for me to go for the 10 victories sometimes, or at least by the time I'd gotten 10 victories, I still hadn't achieved supporting fire. So squatting up is definitely an answer for that, but it's nice to see that changed to assists. One of the interesting caveats with that is that, as I've mentioned before, it's very easy to get assists in mixed battles. When you take your aircraft into tank RB, it's much more difficult for me to score assists in air RB against enemy players, because you really want to kill someone, and by the time you've critically damaged them, you're already close enough that you really don't want them lingering any longer to cause you any problems. It is convenient when a teammate comes in and kill steals from you every now and then to get those assists, but it's definitely more convenient in the air. In tank battles, with 25 assists as your goal, that's still something that I find excuse me, a bit more difficult to accomplish, just on account of I, again, like to finish off an enemy as opposed to relying upon my teammates. But, once more, squadding up is definitely your friend, and so far, whenever I'm looking for a squad, I've been able to find a few people on my Discord, which is really great. I love teaming up with my viewers to just relax and have a good time, and that's usually what I've done when I squad up with you guys from the channel. And then when I really want to get some serious grinding done, there's almost always a group going at the TEC Hub Discord, and you can find links to that as we very aggressively kamikaze in there, because we saw 2 ground targets camping our spawn, and we just had to deal with that aggressively. That is going to give us enough kills for our medal, so the rest of this match is just icing on the cake, and I think you'll agree that it was an enjoyable match. If you want your team to win every time, 6-7 Germany is not the strongest lineup to get behind, but it's not really weak either. It's had worse days. Interesting that the Panther II is so popular when, well, I suppose I spent most of my time in the air in German 6-7, because the Me-262 and several of the German nimble or high-speed Schnellbombers with their thick boy bombs and their big cat engines really do well. Can we zoom climb and kill this? Is that a Firebrand? Is a fireball now, but we got a good chunk of his wing there, and I think we also set him on fire. When that APHE triggers, it does some serious damage to enemy aircraft. So this is just more of what you've seen before, me enjoying life in the Narwhal. It's definitely one of those vehicles that you can have a good time in. Unfortunately, our team is certainly losing the battle on the ground, but I feel like we were pulling our weight in this match, so I don't feel so guilty by taking a vacation in my favorite vehicle. as we line up for an hack on, is that an F8F? Or no, that is a... Oh, geez, I can't remember the name of it right now. It's like a baby P-47, basically a naval version. I forget the name. But the British have one of those as a premium, and with 650 cals at a relatively low battle rating, I think it's a 3.7, with really nicely placed bombs right under the central fuselage. It is a very effective little multi-role fighter and a great vehicle to bring into even higher tier ground battles, as the glitchiness of the mission complete sort of pulls off our aim. We'll never know if we were able to take down that Hellcat. That's what it's called, a Hellcat. So we get our second copy of the American decal, and that is the American Pinup Girl decal, and we get the Fw190C. So that's exciting, certainly. Good results from this match, as I usually get when I get a chance to get up into the skies. And speaking of, I've been grinding the Salamander, the Heinkel 162, I think it's called, HE162, and it is a turd for sure when it's stock, but the aerodynamic upgrades are really, really helpful when it comes to energy retention, smoothing of the body, those sorts of upgrades definitely help it to perform, but it's still kind of it's by far the weakest of the 6.7 jets, and the weakest of the beginner jets, of which it can face very competitive 7.0, 7.3, even 7.7 jets commonly. It gets yeeted on fairly frequently, so taking it into ground battles is a lot better, and that's a place where it can actually perform. A few matches before now, I got some great times in the little Salamander. It's still not even as good in an anti-air role as the Narwhal, but it's cute. Speaking of, here is this ugly boy who is so grotesque and lumpy that it's actually beautiful in its own way. We try and use that decal, but, well, I believe that's actually a copy of one that we already have access to, so we'll have to sell that on the market after the event is over. It'll probably go for about 10 cents, so hooray. But here she is, the Teutonic terror of a Frankenplane. It looks like a P-51 crashed into a Dora, and they were just like, okay, fine, we'll use what we have. This is clearly one of those in development kind of prototype models, and I love it because of that. I love weird and wonderful aircraft, and this is certainly one of those. Taking a look at the stat card, its turn time is actually decent when compared with other Focke-Wulfs. Could it be that this one doesn't have the anemic elevator that most of the other FWs have suffered from? Could be. It is still a bit wobbly when getting onto target, and you'll see that in the upcoming footage. But if you fly in the right way and set up your attack runs and just don't expect to get hits under certain situations, you should be okay. With two MG151 20mm located in the wing roots just to the side of the fuselage, it is very effective at taking down enemy fighters, each one of those guns having 250 rounds of ammunition. Because this is a premium, all of the upgrades come unlocked, giving you access to stealth rounds, which I would recommend. We were using the default rounds for both the 20 mils and the 7.8 mils, and yet it punches hard enough. The 7.8 mils machine guns are mounted in a cowling above the engine, and this is no surprise to Focke-Wulf pilots. This is a fairly standard Focke-Wulf weapon loadout, and in this configuration, it's more lightweight than the planes that have additional 20mm cannons, which is useful, especially at higher altitude where this plane is expected to perform. You can see the altitude we're at now. Our performance is not terrible. We're not playing against equivalent airplanes to our own, just because I wanted to play for a while and get a feel for the guns. But you can see these MG151s definitely hit hard when they do make contact with the Menengeschoss rounds. The AP rounds still do practically nothing against aircraft, but if you are in mixed battles, the AP and AP-HE rounds of the MG151s can deal with lighter-skinned ground targets and roof or engine deck armor for many vehicles, so that is something to keep in mind if you're going to play this in Tank RB. There is a variety of ammunition available to you. This is not going to be competitive with anything that has the long 30mm, but MG103, I believe, or MK103, actually. Yeah, that's right, the MK103. But you can see that the flaps are useful. There is no combat flap setting, so you'll have to toggle your flaps on and off to achieve that effect if you're looking for that. And I'm not the most experienced Focke-Wulf pilot, but this really seems to handle like the D13, so, or the D9, so that is something to keep in mind. Again, this is going to be, in its essence, a high-altitude fighter/interceptor. It's classified as a fighter in the game right now, which means that you will not have access to an air spawn, but it has a decent climb rate, and if you do a bit of side climbing, you should be able to boom and zoom on your enemies to your heart's content. As far as defensive flying ability, this one does seem to roll a little bit slower than some of the other Focke-Wulfs, but its energy retention seems to be decent, and its engine performance in the lower speed ranges is not terrible either. So when it comes to defensive flying, I would expect this to perform fairly consistently with other Focke-Wulfs, but of course, in most circumstances, you'll want to perform most of your fighting with an altitude advantage or at very high altitudes. Anyway, guys, not a comprehensive guide by any means, but here's a first look at the event vehicle and a look at the battle that got it for me, both of which I enjoyed immensely. And hope you guys enjoy what remains of the winter event, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.